Rupa and Sanatana, they were one of the greatest disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he says, Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratushe Namaha. I offer my respectful salutations to the most munificent incarnation, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who distributes the highest treasure. What is the highest treasure? Not your dollars, bank balance, no. Not going to Hawaii or anything. It is love of Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is supposed to be Krishna himself, appearing with the golden complexion of Radharani. This is the meaning of this verse. Then, who was the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Jadi? Krishnadas Kaviraj. So he says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Anarpita Charim Chirat Karunayavatara Kale Samarpaitum Unnatojjvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Haripuratah Sandrishyate Shri Chaitanya Deva Gauranga Rupa Prabhurabhyam Namaha. The merciful Lord has descended in Kali Yuga to give what was never offered before, the most sublime and radiant loving devotion to Krishna. This glory is embodied in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who reveals divine love and manifests as Gauranga Rupa. And many other verses are there. So, what was the position when Sri Chaitanya Dev came? Let us see. Of course, we'll be talking about Bengal here. So, in the latter part of the 11th century, during the reign of Maharaj Ballal Sen, a celebrated figure of the Hindu royal lineage, the glory of Bengal reached remarkable heights. His vast kingdom included most of modern Bengal and extended into parts of Bihar and Orissa. While his primary capital was situated in Rampal, Vikrampur, Maharaj Ballal Sen yearned to reside closer to the banks of the Ganga. To fulfill this desire, he constructed a royal palace, a council chamber, and assembly hall, residences for councillors and staff, as well as a cantonment for generals and soldiers in Navadvip. This is the place we know where Sri Chaitanya was born, gradually transforming Navadvip into a second magnificent capital. Much like the famed court of Vikramaditya, which was renowned for its 9 gems, Navaratnas, Maharaj Ballal Sen's court in Navadvip was adorned by a distinguished assembly of scholars, celebrated for their profound knowledge and exemplary virtues. He spent the latter years of his life in this flourishing capital. So since the king was there, Navadvip attracted learned, virtuous and intelligent individuals from all corners of the country and beyond, ultimately emerging as a prominent center of learning and culture. Following the reign of Ballal Sen, his son Lakshman Sen ascended to the throne and made Navadvip his permanent residence. This further enriched the city, which became renowned as Lakhnavati, named after the king. By emulating his father's achievements and upholding his legacy, Lakshman Sen played a pivotal role in elevating the fame and grandeur of Navadip to new heights. The city, celebrated as a haven for scholars, intellectuals, and virtuous individuals, earned the distinction of being regarded as being blessed by Goddess Saraswati herself. Although the Sen dynasty had to valiantly resist repeated invasions by the Pathan rulers of Delhi, they managed to rule Bengal with political autonomy for a significant period. However, their sovereignty came to an end when the Pathan general Bakhtiyar Khilji conquered Navadvip. So the Pathans established a new capital in Gaudavan, from where they assumed control of the region's administration. They became the rulers. After conquering Bengal, the Pathans chose to settle in the region, embracing it as their homeland. So this Swami Vivekananda has also said that Muslims came, yes, they conquered, but they made this their home and they enriched the culture and whatever they could contribute. Of course, they also took many things. But the English, they only came and looted. They completely drained the country. They had nothing practically. Of course, some technology they have contributed, but mostly they simply looted. So Pathans embraced it as their homeland and they dedicated themselves to fostering the growth of its agriculture, industry, and commerce. While they nominally recognized the authority of the Delhi rulers, they often operated independently and occasionally declared their independence. So that is the story everywhere. When the empire becomes too big, the small states will try to become independent. The internal administration, including tax collection, continued to be overseen by Hindu landlords, as was the tradition. So it was not that they tried to, interfere in everything and gain complete control. It was not that. So although the Pathans appointed qazis and mullahs to administer justice, still the key positions such as ministers, generals, and city officials were assigned to capable individuals only, regardless of their caste or religion. So the custom of the local landlords persisted even under the Pathan rule. So as a result, because they were lenient to some extent, Pathans, the contemporary Hindu society of the time did not face any significant social or economic upheavals, despite the fact of being under foreign rule. So even after the capital was relocated from Navadvip, the city's prosperity remained intact. Wealthy patrons continued to support scholars who lived along the banks of the Ganga in Navadvip, engaging in scriptural study, teaching, and philosophical discussion. So although the city was no longer capital, but still, it was still a very great center of learning and scholarship. In the 15th century, Navadvip emerged as the premier center of learning and cultural education in Bengal. Students from far off regions also came to Navadvip to pursue knowledge. And during this era, the concept of paying for education was non-existent. Teachers did not accept any payment from their students in return for imparting knowledge. Instead, the entire community supported them. Rich people, they gave money to the educational institutions, grants. So the entire community collectively supported the students. On occasions such as worship, ceremonies, weddings, and funerals, people customarily presented gifts to the teachers and students. This system enabled both educators and learners to remain self-sufficient, and they could live simple, contented lives. They did not have to bother how will my pathshala or it will run. It was assured, support was assured. Tiwari ji, come here. Navadvip also attracted wealthy individuals, or you can sit here also.
Oh, sorry.
Any seat, no problem. Navadvip also attracted wealthy individuals who sought to spend their days along the Ganga, participating in spiritual gatherings. Contributions from these individuals, along with generous donations from rulers, landlords, and merchant families, facilitated the construction of numerous roads, ghats, temples, guest houses, and community kitchens, further enriching the region's infrastructure and spiritual vibrancy. So it seems that everything was going on very well, but in the world, nothing can go on well for a very long time. So, because it did not go well, then God had to come. So, what happened we will see after we sing one song. So now, will just give one paper? Yes, first we will sing the song which I've just, you must have heard, I've sent everybody more or less. That is the new song written by our Chovidi about Holi. So she is describing wonderfully how Krishna is playing Holi. So everything was going well for Navadvip, or so it seems. But despite the spread of knowledge, intellect, and material prosperity in the region, there was an absence of true spiritual values. So one thing is intellectual study, that is good. But problem is, only intellectual study will not improve our character. All this technology, spread of technology, what we are seeing, AI, and now that is AI is the most, that is all that is good. But the thing is, if you only use it for your material prosperity, you don't improve as a human being.
Yeah.
So scholarship and all, it was there in Navadvip, but problem was everything was being used only to advance oneself in the world. So because of the absence of true spiritual values, there was a profound mental and moral decline amongst its people. They were perpetually engrossed in supernatural methods to achieve worldly pleasures and dispel obstacles through divine power, destroy their enemies, and attain wealth, status, and fame by any possible means. They considered the attainment of scholarship, wealth, etc. as the ultimate purpose of life. So Sri Ramakrishna says no, that the Pandits who are, they have memorized all the scriptures, Veda Upanishads and all that. So, but they have no devotion. So they are like what? They are like vultures, he used to say. So vultures are flying very high, but the eyes are on dead body or something like that. So these people will quote big things, like our politicians and all, but they will do just the opposite. So it's of no use. So the limited worship and religious practices that existed there were also focused only for obtaining worldly things. God, give me wealth, give me fame, give me scholarship, let me defeat others, all these things. Discussions on the Vedas, Upanishads, and other scriptures which focused on liberation, that gradually diminished. And this led to the rise of various strange beliefs about the nature of the soul, the world, and God. So, problem is once you don't don't take the scriptures as your guide. So, what will happen? People will start inventing their own theories. That is why all the saints and sages have said that always make the scriptures your guide, and anything which does not tally with that, don't accept it. And of course, now that the problem is, it is really dangerous. People are hearing so many things on YouTube. Anybody is picking up something and starting because they all want to gain name, fame, and start their own. So they will give all sorts of wild theories. So always we should have the scriptures as our guide and compare if you at all want to listen. Always compare with the words of saints and sages, otherwise we'll be lost. So here what was happening, because the Vedas, Upanishads, they were being ignored, strange beliefs began to crop up about spiritual things. So with no concept of liberation, means there were no concept of devotion and liberation. So what happened? People's mind were consumed with only worldly desires. So Chaitanya Bhagavata says about that period, the worship of yakshas with liquor and meat, along with various forms of violence against living beings, was the prevailing practice across Bengal.
Sacrifice.
Yeah. Among the upper classes, there were traces of scholarship, scriptural studies, and religious observances. But such practices were entirely absent from lower classes. So the lower classes were deprived not only of devotion to God, but even of the right to learn or hear about God's name and form. They had no access. Even now, in India, the same situation exists among the lower classes. They have no access to learning. That is a big problem. Even they want, they cannot progress. And they are exploited everywhere. Even where I used to stay at Advaita Ashram, the boys who used to work, some of them were brilliant. They would learn so quickly. There was one boy, an electrician used to come to our ashram. He still works there. He's so intelligent, just by seeing that electrician, he learnt everything.
Wow.
Yeah. So talent is not lacking in India, but problem is these people have no opportunity to go. So there also the same things happen. Completely excluded from the privileges of society and lacking spiritual guidance as well as access to education. They were sinking into the depths of misery. And you know the terrible caste system which is exploited. So the upper caste regarded them as untouchables and always maintained their distance, leaving no hope for their advancement. It was during this era of profound despair that the merciful Lord Himself appeared to illuminate the path of deliverance for these fallen people. After establishing dominance over Bengal, the foreign and non-Hindu kings and Nawabs who came to power generally refrained from meddling in the internal governance of the region or social system. But problem was, when the conqueror is of a different religion, then you cannot escape the influence. Even if he is not like Aurangzeb, but there has to be an influence. So the religion of those people and the customs of those people gradually began to wield significant influence over the local population. And you know what happens? That although there may not be forcible conversion, but they will grant special privileges to people of their own religion. So, naturally, recognizing the natural inclination of the rulers to show greater favor to those of their own religion, many Hindus voluntarily embraced Islam to gain royal patronage, while others sometimes they converted reluctantly also. By the circumstances they were forced. You can sit here also. So this was the situation. At this critical juncture, when Hinduism faced profound challenges, there arose an urgent need to protect and uphold the eternal faith while guiding the distressed and impoverished population. It was during this turbulent era that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in Navadvip, the cultural and educational heart of Bengal, to illuminate the path of salvation. His advent proved to be a pivotal movement, for without his influence during those troubled times, it is uncertain whether Hinduism would have survived at all. Next, we will see about his parents. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's father Jagannath Mishra and his mother Shachi Devi were a devout and very virtuous couple. Originally, they were from what is now Bangladesh, Sylhet. But Jagannath Mishra moved to Navadvip as a child to pursue his studies because Navadvip was a great center of learning. After completing his education, then he chose to settle there permanently and was also known by the name Purandar. He was a very simple and righteous person, dedicating himself to worship, meditation, and devotion to God. His wife Shachi Devi shared his virtuous character, but the couple had to endure great sorrow because some daughters of theirs they passed away untimely. But by the grace of God, they were eventually blessed with a son whose name was Vishwarupa. His birth brought solace and joy to the grieving household. Possessing a radiant complexion and an innate calmness, courtesy, and intelligence, Vishwarupa was cherished by all from a very young age. But unfortunately, Vishwarupa also became a monk. And like our Chaitanya Deva. When Vishwarupa was 8 years old, then was born his younger brother, that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. On the full moon night of Holi, in the month of Falgun, a lunar eclipse began as evening descended. Groups of devotees chanting God's name made their way to the Ganga for a sacred bath. It was at this auspicious moment, during the first quarter of the night, that the divine Chaitanya Chandra means moon, destined to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga, appeared, illuminating Navadvip with his radiance. The newborn's beauty and qualities filled everyone with boundless happiness. Shachi Devi's father, Nilambar Chakravarti, a renowned astrologer residing in Navadvip, examined his grandson's birth chart and zodiac signs. Overcome with astonishment and delight, he declared that this was not an ordinary child, but the fruit of countless lifetimes of virtue. He was an extraordinarily great soul. The supremely beautiful and ever joyful infant thrived each day, nurtured with love and care. His fair complexion and divine radiance left all who saw him captivated and mesmerized. In due course, the naming ceremony was held. So, Shachi Devi called him Nimai. This name Nimai was how he became widely known in Navadvip. So, because of his radiant golden complexion, he was also called Gaur Anga. Gaur means fair, Anga means whose body is very fair is called Gauranga. And this has become such a popular name in Bengal. You see, so many people are named Gauranga. It is said that even when very young, at the joyous sound of Hari Bol, he would enthusiastically chant Hari Bol while performing delightful dances. This also earned him the loving nickname Gaur Hari. So Gaur, Gauranga, these are very extremely common names. And after this last part, I will quote directly from his biographies in Bengali a little, just about his birth. But before that, we can have one. This is a kirtan. So I will quote from the biographies of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, God descended as Sri Chaitanya in the world, and why? Why did he descend? Why did God come down? So, the writer of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata answers. I will first tell the original Bengali words and then translate it. কোন হেতু কৃষ্ণচন্দ্র করে অবতার, কার শক্তি আছে তত্ত্ব জানিতে তাহার। কোন হেতু, কিস হেতু, for what reason? কৃষ্ণচন্দ্র করে অবতার, why did Chaitanya came? You may ask, but you cannot know. কার শক্তি আছে, who has the strength? তত্ত্ব জানিতে তাহার, who can tell? Why God comes? Only God can tell. But just for our sake, he says, still, although we cannot know, we can only tell what the scriptures say on that subject. Tathapi Shri Bhagavate Gitaye je koy taha likhi. I am just writing what is told in the Bhagavata and Gita. Je nimitte avatar hoy. So it is all in poetry. You see, the whole book is in poetry. Just imagine. Yeah, Chaitanya Charitamrita, the whole thing is poem. Such a big book.
Yeah.
So, although we cannot know the secrets of God, still I will tell what is written in the scriptures like Gita and Bhagavata. What do they say? ধর্ম পরাভব হয় যখনে অধর্মের প্রবলতা বাড়ে দিনে দিনে. When religion goes down, adharma goes up. Hey, don't disturb him. He's simply disturbing for nothing. So then what happens when dharma goes down and adharma comes up? Then sadhu jono rakkho dushto binash karone brahmadir prabhur paye kore vigyapane. So when this happens, then Brahma is worried that his creation will. So what happens? They come to God, Almighty God, and tar pai, they come at his feet and tell, you have to go now. Go and set everything right. Then what happens? Tobe Prabhu Jugo Dharma Sthapon Kurite. Sango Pange Avatirno Hon Prithivite. Then what happens? God listens to the prayers and to establish dharma. In Sri Ramakrishna's Pranam Mantra is also same thing as Swamiji has said. Dharma sansthapanarthaya, for the establishment of the Vedic Dharma. Sango Pango. So he comes, he does not come alone. Alone, if he comes, how much work he can do? Sangha Panga means all his associates, friends, relatives he calls. Well, I have to go, I cannot do alone, you have to come. Kali Yuga Dharma. Now, what is Dharma in Kali Yuga? Dharma, there are so many definitions of Dharma. So he says, what is Dharma in Kali Yuga? Kali Yuga Dharma hoy Hori Sankirtan, chanting the name of God, and this type of kirtan they emphasize, Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Etad arthe avatirno Shri Shochi Nandan. So, Shachi Nandan means son of Shachi Devi, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He came only to establish Dharma. This much we know. What is the Dharma in Kali Yuga? Hari Nam Sankirtan. Kali Yuge Sankirtan Dharma Palibare Avatirno Hela Prabhu Sarvapori Kore. So he came with his assistants to teach people how to chant the name of God in this Kali Yuga. And just a few verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita, the most authoritative biography of Chaitanya. So first he prays for the grace of Chaitanya before, that is the tradition in our religion. Before we write anything, we pray for the grace of Guru and God. So he says, Sa prasidatu Chaitanya Devo Yasya prasadata Tal Leela Varnane Yogya Sadhya Syat Adhamopyayam. Prasidatu means may he become gracious. Who? Chaitanya Deva. Because of his grace, Yasya Prasadata Tal Leela. Tal Leela means it is made up of two words. Tat Leela. His divine play. Varnane. Varnan karne mein, to describe. Yogya Sadhya. I become fit. Yogya Syat Adhamo Api Ayam. Although I am worthless, but because of his grace only I can describe his Leela. Then he says, Jaya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gaur Chandra Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Jaya Nityananda. So they were very close companions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Advaitananda and Nityananda. So, Sarva Sadguna Purnam Tam Vande Falguna Purnimam Yasya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Avatirna Krishna Nama Bhi. So first I offer my respectful salutations unto the full moon evening in the month of Falguna, an auspicious time full of auspicious symptoms, when Sri Chaitanya appeared chanting the holy name of Krishna. And my salutations also to his close companions Advaitacharya and Nityananda. Falguna Purnima Sandhyay Prabhur Janmoday. It is in Bangla. Falguna Purnima Sandhyay Prabhur Janmoday. Sheikale Doiva Joge Chandra Grahan Hoy. So it was a Chandra Grahan, lunar eclipse also. On the full moon evening of the month of Falguna, when God took birth, there was also a lunar eclipse. So everything was joyful, and all these are celebrated, in a religious way in India. All the solar eclipse, lunar eclipse. So what were the people saying? Hori Hori Bole Loke Horoshito Jonmila Chaitanya Prabhu Nama Janmaya. So in jubilation, everyone was chanting the holy name of God, that is Hari Hari. When Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, after first causing the appearance of the holy name. So for the elucidation of this, we will have to see some explanation. So first the name of God came, then Shri Chaitanya came. That is the meaning here. So, and Chaitanya Charitamrita has some wonderful descriptions. It's a long description. but we'll have to leave it for some other time. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Ram Radhe Govinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Ram Radhe Govinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Ram Radhe Govinda Radhe Govinda Bolo Radhe Gopal 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 Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Ram Radhe Govinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Ram Radhe Govinda Radhe Govinda Bolo Radhe Gopal Radhe Govinda Bolo Radhe Gopal Radhe Govinda Bolo Radhe Gopal Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Ram Radhe Govinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Ram Radhe Govinda Shri Krishna Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Ram Radhe Govinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Ram Radhe Govinda Radhe Govinda Bolo Radhe Gopal Radhe Govinda Bolo Radhe Gopal Radhe Govinda Bolo Radhe Gopal Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Ram Radhe Govinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Ram Radhe Govinda Radhe Govinda Bolo Radhe Gopal Radhe Govinda Bolo Radhe Gopal Radhe Govinda Bolo Radhe Gopal Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Ram Radhe Govinda Hari Bol